Hi, you guys. My name is Natalie Louise, and welcome back to another episode of New Day with Natalie. This is episode 5 of New Day with Natalie, and today we are going to be talking all about what happens when you go no contact with your avoidant ex. And I know it's a really hard thing to do, especially when you have really intense feelings for them, but sometimes it's the best thing that you can do. We're going to talk about what it looks like from the avoidant ex's perspective, okay? If you are interested in one-on-one relationship advice, please feel free to sign up for a coaching session with me. We can jump on a 30-minute or 40-minute Zoom call, or if you're more interested in email relationship coaching, I also have a link for that down below as well, okay? So without further ado, let's jump right into this episode. If you are listening to this podcast right now, you probably have an avoidant ex that you are dealing with that is constantly on your mind, and it's really hard for you to function and live your life. Since the breakup that they probably initiated, like they broke up with you, you have not been able to get them off your mind and really have never stopped communicating with you, whether they're putting hearts in your story or maybe they're like sending you a DM every once in a while. They're just always there, and it feels like you guys are still together even though they broke up with you. It's confusing for you because you still have feelings for them and you still want to be in a relationship with them, and you hold on because you think like, I'll hold on to the hope that maybe one day things will change. Maybe they will turn around and all of a sudden they'll be ready to date me, but they don't. And it's painful and it's hard because you have that connection with them. The other reason why you hold on to them is because it makes you feel like you are not alone, because they are still there. They're still in your life, even though they're not in your life to the capacity that you want them to be. You still have someone to lean on and you still have that connection, even though you want it to be more. But from the avoidant side, that connection is just enough. You understand that by going no contact with your avoidant ex, that basically means you're kissing goodbye any connection that you guys have. So you will feel very alone and you will feel like there's no one to talk to, essentially. And so you're terrified to go no contact, cutting them off completely because you don't want to see what's on the other side. You're scared for yourself, but then also you don't want to lose that connection with them. So it's easier for you to just be in pain and be friends with them or be connected to them or like read their DMs or see them watch your story, instead of being like, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off and just block you, unfollow you, mute you, be done with you. Because if you do that, that really is the end, and that's terrifying. The idea of losing them forever is more painful than being led on daily wondering what if. You decide to just play the game because, again, you don't want to lose them. And that game goes something like this. They text you whenever they want to, and you respond back pretty fast. Like you might wait like 20 minutes, something like that, but you respond back because you want the conversation to roll. But then they respond back to you like 3 to 4 days later because it's not a priority to them. All they want is a touch point, a little bit of connection, but it doesn't have to be like the same day because it's not their priority. This leaves you wondering, did I do something wrong? Do they like me? Should I say something different? And the anxiety in your head just like goes in a cycle. It's like, what do I do? And you're constantly wondering, constantly questioning what's going on. And this, I should point out, this is happening after you guys are not even in a relationship anymore. So you're still wondering what the hell is going on, even when they're texting you. Even after the breakup. Maybe you decide like, you know what, I'm going to text back a little bit slower. I'm going to respond to them 2 to 3 days later. Let's see how they feel if I act like they do. The problem with this is you think that like, okay, if I act the way that they do, maybe they'll second guess their actions and try to treat me with more respect, okay? But the problem is when you decide to play their game and act like them, they're actually going to be more happy because they're like, well, dang, now you're giving me more space because you're taking longer to respond and you're letting them be more independent and just do their own thing, which is, again, what they love. They thrive in their own independent energy. Another game that you might play is if they watch your story constantly, maybe they're like the first person to watch your story and you're like, what is going on? Or maybe they're putting hearts in your story, or maybe they're like replying to your story every so often. And you're indirectly, you might not want to admit it, but you're posting stuff to your story because you want them to see it. And you are creating like a trap almost so that when they watch your story, they just have to respond. I don't care what it is. Maybe it's a song in the background. Maybe it's like a photo of a restaurant you guys used to go to, or maybe it's a car you guys always talked about getting, like whatever it is, you set up a trap so that they walk right into it and have to send you some sort of message. And when they do, it makes you feel like, oh my God, they're back. This is good. Oh my God. But you just try to play it cool. So you might just like heart the message, or you might send like a message back to them. But then they take like 2 to 3 days to respond. Or maybe they don't even respond to you. They just like leave you on red because again, they do not care. You are not the priority. They just want the connection and that is it. They got the connection by responding to your story. They think that's what you need as well. But it's not, because you've never even voiced your needs and desires to your partner. And again, you might not even know what those are. And they probably don't know what their needs and desires are. We will get into needs and desires and how to voice those to your partner in another episode. But for right now, I'm just trying to let you understand what games you might be playing and why these games are not working out. Okay. If they do respond to your story and they actually ask you out, like, oh, let's go out for dinner, or like, let's hang out, or like, let's do something like that. The old you would have been like, I'm free right now. Like, let's go any day of the week, any hour, let's go. Because you just want to be with them. You just want to see them. And you know, it's like, if they are ready, then you're ready whenever. But you decide like, I'm playing the game. So I'm just going to say I'm free only on these days, or I can only see you like in 3 weeks, something like that. So that they feel like, damn, like I am special for getting time with that person. But that, again, that's the problem. You're actually giving them space, which is exactly what they want. So they're not going to see, like if they did that to you, you would be frustrated. It's like, well, why aren't you free? But the thing is, that doesn't frustrate your avoidant partner or avoidant ex in this case. They don't care. They are happy that they get more time alone. Does that make sense? The problem with both scenarios is your response is a protest behavior, okay? And that's very typical with people that have anxious attachment style. Protest behavior basically means you are trying to gain the attention from your partner by protesting, okay? And that basically means you're purposely responding to their messages slowly, like 2 to 3 days later, or you're pretending like you aren't really free, but you are. You're just playing a game, okay? You're trying to get their attention so that they want you more, so that they say like, oh, I want to date you or something like that because you're never free and it's amazing that I get your time and I feel so special and I like you and I want to date you and blah, blah, blah. That's protest behavior. You might have done that as well when you were actually dating them, but this is post breakup. This is when you're still communicating and doing all that. Again, these games, you can play them as long as you want, but they always end the same way. From the avoidance perspective, they see you as the one who needs space and time to heal before you guys would ever get back together. Okay, so since avoidants are incredibly self-reliant, they also expect their partners, so you, to do the exact same thing. They're like, well, I have to be self-reliant. That's the only way I see the world. Don't you see the world the same way? Okay, but you don't. You probably lean on your partner way too much, and that's why you need them in your life. You need to see a text from them. You need to touch them. You need to know that they still love you and blah, blah, blah while you're dating them. When you start to slowly respond to them or say that you're not free, they think that you are just trying to heal, or you're just trying to become self-reliant, or you are just trying to do your thing before you guys can get back together. In the capacity of a romantic relationship or in the capacity of a friendship. It doesn't really matter to the avoidantly attached person. They're definitely not thinking, oh my gosh, my ex is not responding to me fast. Oh my gosh, they're not available all the time anymore. Oh my gosh, maybe I should change the way that I am acting so that they want to be with me. That's not how they're thinking. At all. That's how you're thinking. That's not how your avoidant partner is thinking. They're not thinking, oh my God, I'm being punished for the way that I'm acting. They're not thinking that. And they're definitely not thinking, oh, I should change my behavior so that my partner wants me more. Definitely not. They're just like, great, there's space in between us. I'm happy about that. I wanted to bring this up because, again, you can play these games for as long as you want, but the day you wake up and realize, you know what, the best thing you can do if you want to get back with your ex or if you want to truly heal is to put no contact and space in between you guys. And no contact basically means no communication at all. Let's talk about what that looks like from the avoidantly attached partner's perspective, okay? Because no contact to you is probably going to be like torture because you just want some sort of communication or to check their stories or whatever. For the avoidant person, it's completely different. So there's a couple of different levels that they go through when they're experiencing no contact. So let's jump right into it, okay? The first level, so after you proceed with no contact, you might unfollow them or you're just not talking to them at all. What's going to happen is rejoice and the celebration stage. Okay, this is level 1. Typically, after being suffocated for so long, being in a relationship with you, I know that sounds terrible, but that's how they feel. They feel suffocated, they feel stuck, they feel like they can't do what they want to do. They're not in control. All of a sudden, they finally feel free. Okay, they can finally manage their own schedule as they please. They can travel wherever they want to without you holding them back. They can go to clubs, they can date, they can hang out with new people, they can drink, they can do drugs, they can do whatever they want to do. No one is stopping them. No one is controlling them anymore. They get to control everything that they want. They finally feel independent again. They finally can be self-reliant again. And you have to understand, from the avoidant partner's perspective, this makes them feel safe and secure. When they hold themselves, when they control their schedule, when they get to do everything, they feel like they are safe and in control. They feel secure. Now, that's completely different from the anxious perspective, but we're just talking about avoidance right now. When they were in a relationship with you, they felt like they were constantly fighting some sort of conflict, okay? So when you're in a relationship, there's always conflicts that will arise. And these conflicts could be around being vulnerable or being intimate, among other things, okay? And so those two things are terrifying for the avoidant partner. They do not want to be vulnerable. They are terrified of intimacy because that means you have built a connection that is deep, and it's going to force you to open up and share some things about yourself that they are probably not even comfortable with unpacking, if that makes sense. Now that they are not in a relationship with you, they don't feel that threat of having to solve those conflicts constantly. Because again, when you're in a relationship, there's conflicts. But when you're not in a relationship, there's no conflicts. It's just you against the world. So it's like you feel free, you're independent, you can do whatever you want. They are so happy, they are celebrating, okay? So on a subconscious level, they are actually trying to avoid conflict at all costs so that they don't have to open up to anyone. They don't have to be intimate with anyone, okay? And so that's why they might leave the relationship, among other reasons, all right? So when an avoidant avoids conflicts, they are actually indirectly stunting the growth of the relationship. Because if you want your relationship to grow and evolve, you have to trust your partner. You have to open up. And if you are afraid to do that, the relationship kind of stops. The growth, the evolution stops. The intimacy stops. So in other words, if having a conversation about a conflict and hearing your partner's point of view and coming to a solution is scary for the avoidant partner, and so they just never do that, they run away from that whole process, the relationship is never going to go anywhere. So like running away from conflicts in general, that is what makes avoidance feel safe. I do want to point out that the avoidant ex in your life, they truly did care about you. It's not like they didn't love you or really have strong emotions towards you. It's just they personally are afraid of opening up on another level. So it's physically, emotionally hard for them to do that. So it's easier to just run away and leave. And just run away from the conflicts, run away from the problems, and just be by themselves, because that makes them feel safe. That makes them feel secure, okay? And there's no more conflicts when you're just by yourself. The next level is level 2, which is the hyper-focus level. After you've done no contact with your avoidant ex, they move into level 2, which is the hyper-focus stage, okay? So basically, the avoidant is putting their head down, and they're focusing 100% on their business, on their fitness, on their job, everything that is not you, okay? The work that they are doing is acting as a distraction from the fact that they are truly not happy and actually feel incredibly alone, okay? Which is honestly really sad. That's why I like to say that avoidantly attached people, it's not like they don't want love. It's not like they don't want connection. It's just they're terrified of it. They're genuinely terrified of it, okay? They like to do their own thing because it is their definition of safety, okay? So their own thing is like, I'm going to do my business, I'm going to do my fitness stuff, I'm going to like do my thing because that makes them feel safe, okay? No one can hurt them when they are in control of their schedule, of their life, of their dreams, of their passions. Like they can do whatever they want and they feel safe, okay? They're not thinking about you in this whole process, okay? They have a really strong intrapersonal relationship dynamic, okay? And that basically means that avoidants get their needs met by themselves, not by anyone else in their life, okay? Which basically means you're self-reliant. And that is because they might have grown up in a family dynamic where they were just expected to be self-reliant and figure things out on their own. Okay, they never really saw their family express emotions like I love you or be there for each other in a way that they supported each other and made them feel like they that they didn't have to do everything on their own. They also probably never saw their family get super vulnerable or get attached to other people. It's like they were always just in their own world doing their own thing and expected to do that. So when your avoidant ex was growing up in that family dynamic, they learned that this is the only way to survive. It's a coping mechanism and a survival instinct, okay? So it's incredibly scary to flip the script and then all of a sudden rely 100% on a partner and to fall in love with someone and to feel somewhat attached to someone because they've never felt that before, and that's terrifying, okay? When you compare that to interpersonal relationships, when you are relying on your partner to meet your needs, not all of your needs, but most of them, or a lot of them, this is compared to interpersonal relationships where two partners would get their needs met by each other, okay? Now, in a healthy relationship dynamic, you are able to meet your own needs most of the time, but you're also comfortable with leaning on your partner to have some of your needs met by them as well, okay? You're never 100% leaning on anyone, not on yourself, not on your partners, but it's like a perfect, healthy balance, okay? Now, the thing is, anxiously attached people definitely need an interpersonal relationship because they need to feel seen, they need to feel validated, and they need attention constantly from their partner. So that's why they are leaning on their partner a lot. That's probably like 100% of the time for anxiously attached people. But again, healthy relationship is you're leaning on your partner and yourself. And then one other caveat, okay, don't get it twisted. Avoidantly attached people do care about you and they do want to fall in love. When you peel back that onion, you'll see that they were just terrified of being vulnerable and being intimate and letting go of control, okay? So to mask the uncomfortable feeling of human connection, they will utilize different defense mechanisms, okay? And a defense mechanism is basically a behavior that people use to separate themselves from unpleasant events, actions, or thoughts. An example of a defense mechanism for an avoidant in this stage would be going to parties, drinking a lot, drugs, dating apps, friends, or new people, okay? But just remember, they do care about you. And over time, they start to feel so much guilt about the relationship, okay? That they just need to find some sort of outlet to get a dopamine hit and also get their serotonin fix. To cover up the void of not having you in their life anymore, and also to prevent themselves from falling into a deep depression, okay? And so that's how they can kind of keep their emotions at bay. They find all these different distractions, okay? And again, those are defense mechanisms. And one thing to note as well, your avoidant ex might have just ran out of batteries and tools to keep the relationship growing and evolving. And so that's why they had to step away from you. That's why they just became super hyper focused on their job, on their work, on themselves, because again, it's too painful to open up. It's too painful for them to open up. So it's easier to run away. It's easier to do their own thing, but they feel the guilt in this stage, okay? Then in level 3, that is when they start to second guess, okay? So they start to feel emotions such as missing you, okay? They're missing their ex-partner. They are finally in control of everything in their life. It's like they got everything they wanted, but now they're missing you, okay? Because something is missing. They're missing that level of happiness that they had and fulfillment that they had when they were with you. And ultimately, like, they miss that connection. And that connection could have been anything from like sex. That connection could have been like the partnership you guys had or the safety that they might have experienced, which is rare, but they might have experienced it and they want it back. Usually they feel this after there was enough space that was placed in between you guys during the no contact stage, and then they start to feel some level of regret. I want to stop right here, and if you guys are enjoying this content about avoidance, I would love to invite you to join us for a mastermind that's taking place on December 30th at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and the mastermind is called Inside the Mind of Your Avoidant Ex, and we are going to be talking about the psychological reasons behind why your avoidant ex dumped you, how to make them obsessed with you, when they will come back into your life, and how they will come back into your life. And then finally, how to move on and date again. Feel free to secure your tickets there in the show notes down below. The next stage is level 4, which is the re-engagement stage. So the avoidant ex will test the waters and start to reach out to you in indirect ways, okay? This was shocking to me when it first happened because I had no idea that this was going to happen, and I was shocked. I remember sitting in like a Starbucks drinking some coffee, and all of a sudden I got a text from him and I'm just like, what is going on? So some indirect ways that they might reach out to you is starting to heart your story again, because you might have noticed after the no contact, they drop off the face of the earth. It's like they're not even looking at anything, and then all of a sudden they're back. They're putting hearts in your stories. They're liking your posts. Or maybe they're even replying to some of your stories, okay? The thing is here, all they're doing is seeing if you're open for business. That's it. They're not going to directly say, I fucked up. They're just going to say heart on the story, okay? Which is not really a courageous move in my opinion. At this stage though, they're definitely feeling some sort of embarrassment. And that probably is why they're not being super straight up with you and saying like, I messed up. Like, I want to see you again. Like, it's too embarrassing. And also, like, they don't want to swallow their pride and say that they were wrong and that they want you back, okay? It's always going to be indirect and it's going to be like, it wasn't their fault. The next level is the Band-Aid solution level. In this level, they will try to either A, win you back, or B, take you back as a friend. In reality, they are yearning for connection, yet hindered by the barrier of vulnerability. One thing to note, you will never find or never catch an avoidant talk about their feelings, desires, or needs because, again, that's too challenging, painful, and confusing for them, okay? So instead, they will partake in some people-pleasing actions, which is ironic because it typically is what an anxiously attached person would do, okay? But they act like a people pleaser because they want to fix the problems temporarily. And to be a people pleaser, you're never really making yourself feel good. You just want to make someone else feel good so that they like you. That's what they're doing to try to fix the problem, okay, which is you breaking contact with them altogether. So they will never really dig deep into the situation to find a long-term solution. That's not something they're going to do. Level 6 is the arm's distance stage, okay? So let's say they do take you back, or let's say you take them back as friends or a romantic partner. All of a sudden, the same thing's going to happen again. If you are anxious and they are avoidant, you'll fall back into the trap. The full cycle will start over. If you're interested in understanding that cycle in the trap, check out episode 1, which I talk all about the anxious avoidant trap. What you'll notice is the closeness and connection will just be too much for your avoidant ex-partner, okay? Or maybe, new fresh partner. And the avoidant will feel like they're being suffocated once again, all right? So they will actually place distance in between you guys, and that way you guys won't get too close. That's just how it works. So they could do this by saying like, I don't do labels. Maybe you guys are just hooking up and that's it. Maybe they're texting slowly again, or they're just like walking around the words of like, I love you. They're just like, we're just friends, or we're just hanging out, things like that, to make sure you know that you're not romantically with them. What you can do if you want them back is, number 1, identify the problems that took place in your previous relationship, okay? And understand the patterns that both of you guys were falling into. Then together come up with some sort of solution so that those things do not happen again. And boundaries also help with this, okay? If you do not want them back, you can simply tell them, it's good to hear from you, but I don't think it makes sense for us to be friends or makes sense for us to be in a relationship. I wish you the best. Bye. That's it. You don't really owe them anything else beyond that. If you guys are interested in transforming your attachment style and go from being anxiously attached to securely attached in just 90 days, I would invite you to apply to the 90-day accelerator program called Going from Anxiously Attached to Securely Attached. We will work together for those 90 days and I will help you understand your attachment style, where it comes from, and understand your own conditioning. We will work together on boosting your self-confidence, which will help you to feel free from feeling too attached to past relationships or future relationships. I will also guide you in developing a more secure attachment style to build long-lasting, loving relationships, whether that's with your ex or with someone new. If you're interested in that program, please feel free to apply down below, and I can't wait to talk with you on that one. All right, you guys, so that is the end of this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you like this sort of content, please check out my TikTok and YouTube channel. Both are under the name Natalie Louise, and there are new episodes for the New Day with Natalie podcast every Sunday, so I can't wait to see you next week. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.